Reverend Kathleen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm actually here to introduce Dr. Judy Morley. Many of you know her already, and for those who don't, I have just a few things to say about her. She's an accomplished senior executive advisor and thought leader with more than 15 years of success across things like urban development, management, consulting, franchising, and also very involved in the Centers for Spiritual Living as leadership at home office, as well as a founding minister for Foothills Centers for Spiritual Living. She holds a leadership position as president of Intuitive Speaking, where she uses her expertise in developing strategies to build businesses. She is a dynamic, innovative, and high-performance executive with proven ability to lead new business development. And some of the ways in which she has served, she's executive director of Carroll County Arts Council, faculty member with Lincoln Leadership Institute at Gettysburg, and the co-founder and managing partner of Tilford's Wood-Fired Pizza. So she has her hands in a lot of different things. So she brings a great broad perspective, as well as being rooted in our spiritual teaching. So I just would like to invite all of you to welcome with hearts wide open and great enthusiasm. In fact, let's just show her some enthusiasm ahead of time. Okay, so welcome, Dr. Judy.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Kathleen. Love you guys. I always hear that bio, and I think I got to rewrite that, because believe it or not, even with everything else, I am an ordained minister with Centers for Spiritual Living. Really, really. I've just chosen to use my ministry in helping business mostly. That's where I use my ministry. So anyway, I'm thrilled to be here with you guys. I love your community. I feel like you are my spiritual home, since I'm out here in the wilderness of Gettysburg, and maybe I should say the spiritual wilderness of Gettysburg. And so I've loved getting to be with you guys and know you guys in the last 3.5 years since I moved out here to the East Coast. And so I'm thrilled to be here. The topic today, as you guys know, is transcend and include. I really thought a lot about this. You know, I have a PhD in history, and when you're a historian, you study something that is called the Hegelian dialectic. Oh my gosh, could there be a more arcane and academic term? But what it really is it's how growth takes place. Spiral dynamics is built on the Hegelian dialectic. So I'm going to tell you briefly what that is. It's named after a German 19th century philosopher called Georg Hegel. And what Hegel identified is he said that there's this thing that we call the status quo. And we're going to call that the thesis, okay? The thesis. And the status quo goes along for a little while. We bip along in the status quo and everybody's happy. We might also call it a comfort zone. Then something happens to challenge the status quo. So you got the status quo over here, everybody's happy. But not everybody's happy. So something, the seeds of discontent with the thesis here pop up, and they challenge the thesis, and that becomes called the antithesis or the antithesis. And they live in tension for a while, maybe outright conflict between the thesis and the antithesis. And when you look historically, this is how historical movements happen. You have, let's just go back to before the Civil War, you have slavery in the South, then you have the abolition movement, and they live in tension until some sort of overt conflict takes place. In this case, the Civil War. And they create then a melding of the former thesis and the former antithesis, and they create something then that's called the synthesis. The melding of the two, and that synthesis becomes the new thesis. That becomes the new status quo, and the cycle repeats itself. That's how all evolution takes place. See, now you guys can all say you learned the Hegelian dialectic today at church. Isn't that awesome? But that's how all growth and evolution takes place, is that we have this status quo, we have something that challenges the status quo, and then we get something new out of that. Now that happens culturally, but it happens personally too. Have you ever noticed, like, I'm just going to use a silly little example, like maybe you love your kitchen. You love your kitchen until you see your kitchen you just had remodeled. And all of a sudden you don't love your kitchen so much. And all of a sudden your kitchen looks old and dingy. And so the thesis was your kitchen. The antithesis is your neighbor's or your friend's brand new kitchen. So now you have to go and remodel your kitchen to get the new synthesis. We do it also with our beliefs. And that's what I want to talk about today. We do it with our beliefs about the world, the people we travel with in the world, and our role in the world. We have beliefs that are our current thesis. And what we need to do if we want to evolve as human beings is we want to transcend those beliefs. We need to find the antithesis of those beliefs. And somehow, we may not have to believe that way, but we at least have to understand it so we can incorporate it into our awareness. I love Monica's reading about awareness, so that then we can have the new inclusive synthesis in our own lives and in the world. That's how social justice happens. That's how all growth and evolution happens. We cannot begin from a premise that something is wrong. We must begin from the premise that everything is as it should be, and we are just growing and including. So I'm originally from Colorado, and I went to a church called Mile High Church for years. And one of the founding ministers there, Dr. Fred Vogt, he used to have a great phrase about the role of a minister. He said, the role of a minister is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. So if today you are comfortable in all of your beliefs, I am going to afflict you. You're welcome in advance, because this is how growth happens. So let's talk first about awareness. Are you aware of your beliefs? Are you aware of what you think about the world around you? Every one of you, being good members of CSL Delaware and good practitioners and good science mind devotees, are going to say, of course I'm aware of my beliefs. I'm going to challenge you a bit, because if you believe that either political party is wrong, or even worse, bad, then you may have beliefs that you are not aware of operating. Everybody take a deep breath there. Yes, I'm talking to you. And yes, I'm talking about the last election. Remember, I'm afflicting you because you're comfortable. There is nothing wrong here. If you have beliefs that a political party, I'm not going to name them because it happens on both sides. It happens on both sides, not just the other side. It happens on both sides. If you believe that the people who believe or lead this political party are bad or wrong, there are beliefs operating that you need to be aware of. Because what does Science of Mind teach? We teach that we are all one, don't we? We teach that God is in every single situation, don't we? We teach that there are no accidents in the universe, don't we? We teach that everything happens by divine appointment, don't we? So that means that the election of both 2016 and 2020, I'm not sure what party you're part of, so I'm going to call them both out, happened by divine appointment. There is no accident. There was no mistake. There was no one wrong. So what are your beliefs around that? What do you need to be made aware of? And what do you need to transcend in order to recognize that there's nothing wrong here? You know, I have this puppy. The people who were on before, the leadership team knows this because I prayed that she doesn't bark in the middle of this talk, but she might. She's 4.5 months old, and we're in dog training right now. I've had lots of dogs in my life, but I've never actually gone to formal training, but this one's a handful. So we're in formal training, and one of the first things they have you do when you go to dog training is they have an exercise. And if you guys have trained dogs, you know this is called Find Focus First. I just love the name, Find Focus First. And what you do is when you take the dog out of the car, the first time that the dog looks at me, the first time that she looks at me, I give her a treat. I don't say anything. I don't call her attention. I just want her to be aware that I am always there and that she always needs to look to me for her direction, even in the midst of distractions. So the place where we take her for dog training has horses and a swimming pool and all this. And I need to make sure that she finds focus first on me so that she doesn't go chasing after the horses or trying to jump in the pool or any of that. Find focus first. So I'm going to invite you guys to train yourselves to find focus first on God, on that divine life within you, on that place within you that knows that there's nothing wrong here, that knows that there's a bigger picture than our human selves can see. I'm using politics as an example because it's a real hot button. And I think that if Facebook is any guide, and it's not much of a guide for much, I agree, but if it is any guide, that there's a lot of discomfort with the political situation right now. And we're not going to solve it by continuing to believe that anyone is wrong. So, because God doesn't think that, God has not forsaken the Democrats or the Republicans. God operates in both of them. So find focus first. Look within and find that life within you that knows that it is love. As Dr. Kathleen said at the beginning, it is love that is our religion. And that's where we have to bring our awareness is to that love. Regardless of what is happening in the world of form, we find focus first on our initial cause, our source. Second, so you got to find awareness. In order to transcend, the next thing you have to do is you have to step out of your comfort zones. That's why I'm afflicting you all today, you comfortable people. I'm afflicting you. We can't have any growth, any evolution, any transcension without discomfort. It's just the way it is because, you know, there's tension. As a matter of fact, if you've ever set an intention, you are in tension. I like to think of it as a rubber band. So think about two posts, okay? And or just think about one post, I guess. And you put a rubber band around the post. And if you take a second post and you put it very close, that's your intention. So this post is where you are. The second post is your intention. And if your intention isn't much of a stretch, then there's no tension on the rubber band. But if you claim a big goal, if you say you're going to transcend and include, that's a big goal. And you're pulling that intention farther and farther from where your consciousness is. And so you are going to be in tension with that rubber band. So there's going to be tension there, which automatically forces you out of your comfort zone. You're going to be in tension. I found this very much when I first moved from central Pennsylvania to central Pennsylvania. I live in Gettysburg, as I already said, and I come from Denver, Colorado. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever been to Denver, Colorado. I still travel back there fairly frequently, and Denver, Colorado is kind of a California vibe. Very athletic, very outdoorsy. Everybody is thin. Everybody is white. Everybody is healthy. Everybody is, it's very homogenous. It's kind of boring. But everybody's also fairly liberal. I mean, Colorado has an openly gay governor. So Colorado's fairly liberal. So then I moved to central Pennsylvania. Let's just say it's different. It's different here. And I found myself in tension because I'd set this intention that I want to be a pioneer for science mind in the world. I don't want to talk to people who already believe like I do. I want to reach people who don't. That's why I work with businesses, because I believe that that's where we're going to really have change and transformation in our culture. So God says, okay, you want to do that? Here, I'm going to plop you down in the middle of central Pennsylvania, where nobody has the same political view you do. And good luck. Have fun with that. And you know what I learned? I learned that my neighbors here in central Pennsylvania are good and kind and friendly and loving and supportive, and that they reach out to me, and that they bring casseroles and cookies, and they dog sit for me, and they are curious about what I believe, and they are eager to tell me what they believe, and they are spectacular people. None of them voted the way I did in the last election, and they are spectacular people. This was a huge lesson for me for comfort zones. Can I be comfortable with people who don't believe anything like I do? I have a friend who's a practitioner. She used to be a practitioner at my center in Colorado, Foothill Center for Spiritual Living. And she left Colorado a while back and she moved to Florida. And she called me about 3 months ago and she says, I can't live here. And I said, why? And she goes, I can't live here. Nobody believes like I do. I need to go to Portland, or I need to go somewhere else. And I said, why? I mean, what you believe is what you believe. Why does anyone have to believe like you for you to be comfortable? Get to be comfortable in our own skin. And then we show what we believe by the clarity of our example, right? That's what we say about Jesus, don't we? He was the master teacher. He was the great example, not the great exception. And as he said, these things that I do, greater things shall you do. So if we really want to transcend, we might have to step out of our comfort zone. If we only ever talk to people who think and believe like we do, we are never going to grow, and we are never going to help growth. So we have to get out of our comfort zones. Another thing about stepping out of your comfort zone is you have to realize that you play a part, we all play a part in every interaction. It's so easy when we're in our comfort zone to think that someone else is doing it to us. And I'm going to quote a minister friend of mine. She's at the Center for Spiritual Living in Camarillo, California. Her name is Reverend Grace Lovejoy. And here's her quote. And I want you to remember this because I love it. When the number of people who can kiss my patootie is growing exponentially, it might be me. And I'll say that again. When the number of people who can kiss my sweet patootie is growing exponentially, it might be me. So if you find yourself in a situation where everyone around you is annoying you, it might be you. It might not be them. So back to point one, find focus first. If all of those people who can kiss your sweet patootie are starting to grow exponentially, you might want to go within and check and see what belief do you have operating that you are clinging to in your comfort zone that won't let you get out. So you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. And then the last point on this is we have to look at results. We can't transcend and include and not look at results. You know, Reverend Kathleen said that I'd been involved at the home office of Centers for Spiritual Living. I was the publisher of Science Mind magazine for 7 years. I was the director of communications and then of member support and education there. I was on the team that integrated the two organizations, if you know anything about organizational history, and it was awesome. But one thing that I noticed is that sometimes as a teaching and as a movement, we don't hold people accountable for results. We talk about it, but if someone's really struggling, we default to compassion. And I'm not saying we shouldn't. We default to compassion, but there's a way to compassionately hold people accountable. So if the results in your life aren't what you want, you might want to take a look at those beliefs again. What thesis is operating below your level of awareness that is keeping you from getting to the new spot you want to be at? You know, the model of intention. You've got this post in the ground with the rubber band and you set the intention and you put it out here. Well, what you want to have happen is you want your intention to be so strongly rooted in the ground that it uproots the old belief and drags it towards you, right? But sometimes the old belief is so strong that you set the intention and it just can't get hold and it comes back. Well, all that means is that you've got to drive this belief system deeper into the ground and start uprooting this one. So we've got to look at results. You know, I love the work of Emma Curtis Hopkins. If nobody has really studied Emma, she was Ernest Holmes's teacher. She's called the founder of New Thought in some ways because she taught, her very first students were Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who were the founders of Unity. And her very last student, 40 years later, right before her death, was Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science Mind. And I love her system for teaching classes. She offered her first 12 classes. Everything that she does is based on 12 lessons. So she's got graduated programs, but they're all 12 lessons. So she taught her first 12 lessons to anyone who wanted them for free. And then if you wanted to take the second 12 or the third or the fourth, they were quite expensive at the time. I want to say they were like $1,200 and this is 1924. So they were quite expensive. And if you couldn't afford them, you had to go back and take the first 12 because it means you didn't learn how to manifest. You didn't learn how to set your intention, raise your awareness, step out of your comfort zone, and come to the place of what you want now. You couldn't transcend and include the new learning in your life. So she forced you to keep going back to those first 12 lessons until you could afford the next. That's results. That's results. If you say that you want social justice, and I'm only picking on that because there's a meeting next week. But if you say you want social justice, how just are you in your own life? And I'm sure you're saying, what? I'm very just. I believe in enough for everyone. Okay. Do we believe in goodness, kindness, and compassion for the former president? Do we? Because, you know, it's kind of everyone. If you say that you want to have more money in your life, are you living from a place of enough? And I don't mean enough money. I mean enough love, enough peace, enough joy, enough God to go around to everyone. Do you celebrate the success of others? Or do you find yourself being envious or jealous? Because when you're really looking at results, you'll celebrate everyone else's success knowing that there is enough. And that's when your results change. If you want better relationships, are you in good relationships with yourself? I know that all of you are kind, loving, compassionate people to others. Are you to yourself? Are you teaching the universe how to treat you by treating yourself the way you want to be treated? This is where results come in. And we have to review those results. And then that goes back in the spiral to awareness. If you aren't getting the results you want, if there's a problem with your results, or if you are feeling like your results are sporadic or inconsistent, then there's a belief that is operating below your level of awareness that you get to go back to step one and identify what that belief is. Get out of your comfort zone and set a new intention, and then look at the results. And if they're still not what you want, you get to go back. I remember when I first became a practitioner, I was saying the other day, I've been a practitioner now for 16 years. Holy moly. That's amazing because I obviously became a practitioner when I was 5, so it was a miracle. But when I first became a practitioner, right after I became a practitioner, like everything in life seemed to landslide down on me. And I remember going to see my minister mentor and saying to her, I'm tired of doing this. Like I've examined every belief I have and I've done everything and I've taken all the classes and I'm done. And she said, oh, honey, that's so cute. You're never done. It's a lifelong thing. And that's what I want to impart to you guys today. When we transcend and include, we don't get there. There's no there. It is a spiral process. And if we do it well, it's an upward spiral. We become more inclusive. We are more transcendent. We become better at recognizing those false beliefs sooner. We become more comfortable out of our comfort zones. Our results improve. And that's how we create this world that works for everyone, is because we understand that it works for us and that it will work for everyone when we find that focus first and go to God as the source. So remember, awareness, out of your comfort zone, review results, and then step 4 is the most important, repeat. So before you close your eyes to pray, we're going to bring the troublemaker up here with us to say the prayer. This is Miss Maisie May, the Scotty. So she's going to pray with us. So let's pray on finding our focus and transcending and including. So now you may close your eyes and just bring your awareness to your heart center. Bring your awareness to that space where you recognize that the highest God and the innermost God is one God, that there is no separation in time or space between us on this Zoom call, between us and people all over the world, or between us and our next door neighbors who may feel like they are miles and miles apart ideologically. There is no separation because all is God, all is one, and we are part of that one. And so we here right this moment unify with that oneness, knowing that we are the presence of God made manifest. We are the presence of God here on earth, operating to reveal heaven on earth, operating to be the best we can be so that we can inspire and model and give the example for everyone to be the best we all can be. And so as we do that, we go forward this day, and we find our focus first. We focus on that God life within us. We know that there is that one life, that it is the only life, and we search for it in every situation. We also bring to our awareness anything that is unlike that love and that divine life that we know is the truth of who we are. Oh, and as we do that, we allow the discomfort to come, knowing that God is always present with us, knowing that there is nothing that can harm us, knowing that we can never be diminished in any way, shape, or form, for we are one with the most powerful presence in the universe. Nothing can harm us. And as we move forward still, we review our results, we accept our results, we evaluate them without emotional charge, without any feelings of loss or failure. We just do it with the curiosity to identify what needs to be made aware, we need to be made aware of next. And as we do this, we become the point of light. We become the place of safety. We become that spot of knowing for all people that there is nothing wrong here, that God is operating here and now in this time and place as it has in all times and in all places. And we bring that divine love to every situation, including all, regardless of the color of their skin, their political opinions, their relational orientations, no matter what. We just know that we are one. We are children of that same divine. And so from this place, we give thanks. We give thanks that there is this power and presence so easily accessible, as near to us as our very breath. We give thanks for the goodness of life, the goodness of God here now. We know that when we see difficulty in the world, it is our perspective, for the good is always more abundant than the negative. And so we look for it and we praise it. And as we praise it and give thanks for it, it multiplies in our experience. And so from this place of gratitude, I just know that we leave today, we go out into the world with a renewed perspective, an uplifted heart, and a feeling of joy and empowerment that we are the good that we want to see in the world. And so it's with great gratitude for this that I let this go and know all is well. And so it is. All righty. And now, Miss Maisie and I would like to introduce the fabulous, the spectacular, the magnificent, the all grown up now, Danielle Avicoli.